Hi, and welcome back to the...
Save that one. Save. Good.
Restart.
Take two.
Shut up and sit down.
I got on my bike.
We've got a great show lined up for you.
That is Champ Bailey, one of the best in the business.
To have a name like Champ kind of says it all.
Gonna put my helmet on. I got on my bike. I know my signal.
You are listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Duren. Pro tip, go listen to the outside. You're welcome.
I got my cards and my spokes, and I'm waving to the folks who are uptown. Uptown, waving to the folks who are uptown.
Dude, sucking at something? First step toward being sort of good at something.
Riding on my bike. I put my
Evan Price for the win. Right down the middle.
signal bright. Riding on my bike.
My name is Matt Legrand, and on this channel, we are always talking about biking.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Duren. I'm sitting here with Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? We're in studio. At least a couple of us are, at least.
Yeah. And then coming to us over the cellular webs.
The airwaves.
The airwaves, yes. Mr. Lance Hepler. What's up, Lance?
It is Lance Romance out on the road for your listening pleasure. Sorry I sound so crappy and you can't see my beautiful face.
Oh.
On location.
Where you at, Lance?
I am somewhere in the farm country near Burley, Idaho. I'm actually mid-drive on my way back to Portland.
Nice. It'll be good to have you back.
See any good gravel roads over there yet?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's some pretty good gravel roads all over the place.
Any snow on the ground?
There was snow all over the mountains in Utah, but not here in Idaho.
Sweet. Cool. Hey, let's get into some backpedaling. Who wants to go first? Matt?
I can go first.
All right.
I just got off the boat from Boston.
How was that?
It was a flight, not a boat ride, but it was super interesting. I was telling these guys just a minute ago, like, this is the first time that I've been on a trip with my wife with no kids since we've had kids, so 11 years. And
Holy cow.
That's crazy to me.
we did take a trip to Sweden with a baby, but and we left two kids home for that trip. But basically,
I think I remember that. That's like
that was
right
the
around the
Achilles
time,
surgery.
exactly,
Yeah, that was-
close to when I first met you.
Was
first
it?
year or something like that? Yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say that. Okay, I would think that we've known each other for longer than that, but I think that's how these things go.
What,
That was
6
about
6 years ago.
I was gonna say 4 or 5, but yeah, something like that.
Yeah. Crazy.
Crazy.
How did Kristen do?
So anyway, backpedal. I should continue. The race went really well. Weather conditions were good. If anything, they were too warm. A lot of people were complaining about the heat. It was kind of overcast for the first half of the race, and then the sun came out. And the whole time we were there, it was like fair. I mean, it was a touch rainy the first couple of days, but most of the time we were there, it was like sunny and hot. And it was like pouring down rain here in Portland. It was like sunny and 75 there in Boston. It was great.
That's weird.
It's better because I can look at you guys and laugh at how bad the weather is for you guys while we soak up the sun. And we just, tooled around the town and the city, and we were downtown, so we did everything downtown. We did a lot of like out to dinner type things. I used those little city bikes, rented those things, and just went around as best I could. I went during the race. I just kind of biked out the course and cheered for my wife. And she was racing. She was, I would say, maybe not giving it 100%. What did we say? The beans? Giving it the beans?
Beans, yeah.
She, so she worked hard and she was tired when she was done, but she stopped when she saw me and she would like give me a hug or whatever and like kind of keep moving, talk to me for a second.
Get back to work.
Yeah. It wasn't like, I'm going to blow through, I'm going to step on some kid's head to get to the finish line. She was just kind of having a good time, soaking in all the sights, and her time was still pretty fast. She went 3:32. And that's about 10 minutes off of her PR. So still good effort on a difficult course where she got to see a lot of the sights and soak it all up and experience those massive crowds of the Boston Marathon. So super cool trip. Oh, a good update for my backpedal is that my whatever streak, 100 bike day streak is no more.
I was going to ask about that.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
I got, basically whatever it was, like we got past 50 days, I think. And I was busy with work. I had the Boston trip, and I was like, you know what? Nope. It's not going to happen.
Called it.
And that's okay, I think. I did it last year. I made it last year. I don't know. It's not like, I don't feel like I have to prove anything. It's just a fun challenge.
Loser. Failure.
Yeah. Well, what do you get for 50? You get 50% of a sock. You get one sock.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know what you get for 50. I don't know what you get for 100, but yeah. So, I did bike actually when I was in Boston every day. They had a Peloton bike in the hotel, which was weird because I'd never done Peloton, and I really want to talk about it on my channel, and I want to make sure that I've kind of experienced a lot of the stuff that other people are testing and using, just so I have that little, piece that I can add as far as like my experience and my opinion on these things. I actually really liked the Peloton bikes.
Really?
I would never buy one, but I really liked them. I thought they were, like, the classes were motivating. The leaderboard was super motivating because you're like...
So explain that to me.
Yeah. You have wattage. I don't know how accurate it is. I think it's okay. And you have... I don't remember putting in my weight or anything like that. But you have wattage, and then you have, cadence, and they give you suggested ranges for things like that. But ultimately, they have some sort of calculation for distance, and they have some sort of point system, which is a little nebulous, but it's this leaderboard, and it's kind of like who's putting out the most watts for the entire workout. And you just start working your way up, and I was like second on one day and first the other day. So it's not like super competitive people.
So are you in a class and
you're in a class.
People from all over the country? About how many people were in there? Did it say or?
Yes. Maybe one day like 20 and another day like 10. Okay. So it's not. Well, I think there are times where you have massive classes.
Sure.
And of course I'm just sneaking these in the afternoon or whatever it was, probably not popular times. And then you sit down and you just kind of find something that's about to start.
Sure.
And people love the presenters. I didn't really enjoy them that much. I had one guy that was like very dancey on the bike, which is annoying. And then another girl that was like too bubbly. I don't know. I think that there are probably some, if I was part of the platform, I would find some people that I really liked, and I think that that's what people really, really get into. They get tied to like a specific person, and they really enjoy those people. And I think the platform is good. I think the equipment is okay. I know it's expensive. You've got another subscription service to the whole piece, and the bike itself is expensive. I don't know that I would go that route as opposed to putting my bike on a trainer,
sure,
and using something like Zwift. But it is in some ways more motivating, I think.
Would you say that it would serve as a good gateway for people to get interested in cycling in general that maybe weren't otherwise, and then transition to a bike at some point?
It is very much a spin class, and not, and even like Zwift is different, right? Like Zwift feels like you're not in a spin class. It feels like you're riding your bike and you're doing a workout or whatever it is. And this is very much a spin class. And so there is that hurdle to get over as far as saying like, hey, you're good. You like Peloton, you like spin class. Let's see if you'll take the next step and come out on the roads with me. That's a big step for people to take. They don't have their favorite instructor to yell at them or dance at them or whatever. But like, I do think that it's a positive, right? People are working out. People are, even potentially learning about wattage, which I think is important for us and for the sport. And so if they have that next step of like, especially if they have the income to be like, I'm going to get a bike and it's probably going to have a power meter, then all of a sudden they already have like that Peloton experience, and they go out on the road, and when they push 200 watts, they know what that effort is.
Sure.
So it's interesting. I like I said, I was surprised that I liked it as much as I did. Like I did the first class, and I was like, I want to do that again.
It's like I crushed everyone.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that it was the first time I was like starting, I was just kind of like trying to work my way up as best you can, and so you just go hard. And in Zwift, you kind of have, it's just not quite the same. I guess you have that when you do Zwift racing, but
it's really
so
easy,
much more competitive, and I just get crushed on a Zwift race. Not that I've done.
Well, there's a multitude of different levels there, but I do find that if you don't go into Zwift with the notion that you're going to be doing something specific, whether it be a workout or whether it be a race or riding with a group.
It can be boring.
You can be boring, and you just kind of fall into this like low watts, very consistent, nothing. And
you and I have done that.
I've done that plenty of times. And there's days where like that's perfect, and then there's days where I'm like, all right, I got to work on the computer. I'm like kind of burnt out, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, like, one of the group leaders or one of the
whips past,
and you're like, oh, wait a second.
I can hop on that.
Yes, I'm going to get on that. And the next thing you know, you get a great workout. So there is something to be said when you're engaged with others.
Yeah. And I think you're right. It's that difference between like me sitting there and watching a video and pushing 100 watts, which I do all the time, versus like, I'm going to hop in and try and hang on a group, which is exactly what we did last night.
Yep.
Speaking of my back pedal, we did, or at least for me, it was the first dialed Tuesday night Zwift ride.
That was the first one of the season.
The first official one, or did you guys do another one last Tuesday?
First official one. One of 21.
One of 21.
Yep.
And I had a blast when I started. My iPad was dead, and I tried to like plug it in, but that particular program takes a lot of battery life. So I made it 40 minutes and then the whole thing cut out. But, I pushed good watts the whole time. It was great. I had a blast. It was fun. It was flat. I feel like everyone could kind of hang until...
That was the purpose early in the season. Keep it flat. Keep them together.
I felt like there was one spot where... I think I had to like plug, the plug was coming out of the iPad and I had to like go adjust it. And then I had to like give it the beans to get back on the group. And I was like, I'm pushing like 300, 350 watts for like a couple minutes. And I was hurting bad when I finally caught back on the group. So that was good. I was glad I caught back up because otherwise it was going to be a very short ride. And it was still a short ride because I got, the battery died on me, which is fine. It was fun. The other backpedal news, of course, I've been swimming a little bit, but the other backpedal was that I did 2 runs this week so far, and it's only Wednesday.
Oh, wow.
I know.
How did that feel?
I'm trying to be very careful with it all. I did do a run before I left for Boston, and I just went and did like a 3-miler on the trails, and I was so sore for like 5 days. My quads were killing me. And I think it's like anytime I pick up the pace a little bit, the quads just fall apart and they turn to butter, which is weird because I've been biking a fair amount, but I think it's just different muscles for running. Mm-hmm. But so like what I'm doing is like, so if you guys aren't familiar with me, I've got ridiculous Achilles problems. I've been having them for 20 years or so. It's at a point now where it's particularly bad, and there's not a lot of options, even surgical options. Like I just have no options at this point. But it's also like how much more damage can you do? So I was just trying to very, very easily ease back into it. So it's 2 miles walk jog, and that's what I've done the past couple of days. So
where do you think you're going to go with this? I mean, are you just going to chase your tail here? Is it going to be more of the same?
Like run a little bit, and then have to sit out for another 6 weeks?
Yeah. Or do you feel like you're missing the mark? Like you need to just give it a big chunk of time off, and then maybe do some different kinds of strength training, some PT, and then maybe you can ease your way back into it and find some semblance of.
So one of the things that's going on in my ankle is like at the bone level. So it's kind of like, think of it like arthritis. Like it's just not going to get better.
Yeah.
And so running on it is not good. Actually, when I was talking to the doctor after the first MRI, he was like, you know what you should do? He's like, you should take up cycling. And I was like, oh, should I? I was like, well, I do have a couple of bikes. So it's one of those things where, he's just like, don't run. And I thought, well, okay, I don't like that answer. So I could do 6 months in a boot. Right. Yeah. Or I could do some different PT type stuff, or I could try to slowly ease back into running after taking like a 6-week break. And the doctor's pretty confident that there's not much that they can do. There's not like a surgery to fix that. I mean, they could do like a joint or ankle replacement, but basically you're hobbling the rest of your life. Like there's nothing good. There's no good options.
Yeah.
But I'm jogging around anyway, so we'll see.
So you've done multiple Ironmans.
Yes.
You've been a competitive triathlete, and you have a pretty storied career as a runner.
Sure.
Knowing that the running thing is really kind of becoming your Achilles heel, would you ever consider just putting it aside for maybe like a couple of years and just focusing on one sport, becoming a swimmer or a cyclist, and just stay off the stupid thing and let it kind of do its thing?
It's hard because... like, what if someone said that to you? Like, why don't you sit off of cycling for a little while and maybe try paddleboarding or whatever. Like it is. Those things are fun.
Yeah.
But they're not like
I know
that.
It's so
they're not that like
deeply ingrained in your DNA.
I love cycling.
Yeah.
Right. Like, so for me, that like even like the walk jog that I did, because I have had this big break of not running. Even like walk jogging for 2 miles was just fantastic.
Put a smile on your face.
I was out there on the lake, and I do get that when I hop on a gravel bike or a mountain bike, and I get to hit the trails, and I'm getting to experience some of those same things. It's just really fun to be on the trails.
Well, I'm just thinking that maybe a little bit of time off could reinvigorate you to on multiple levels. You find some health, you can get yourself back together, and then you can go do other things. And I'm thinking that you do enjoy swimming, and you do enjoy
I do
cycling.
I love it.
So
that's the good news is like, had this been 10 or 11 years ago and this happened to me, I'd be at a loss. Like, I'd just be like, I don't have anything else.
Professional beer drinking,
which I also love. but the past 10 or 11 years, I've fallen in love with swimming. I've fallen in love with biking.
Sure.
Swimming's been a little bit tricky recently because of the pandemic, and you have limited pool time and limited pool access. And so I'm swimming I was swimming 6 days a week, and now I'm swimming like 2 days a week, which is not great. But biking is fantastic. It's getting to the time of year where we do move indoors more, and there's so many good indoor options, which is fantastic, but it's just not as much fun as going out in the sun and doing a nice ride. So.
Just be really curious to see what would happen with you. For selfish reasons, I'm going to talk about cycling, but if you just set the other stuff aside, maybe use the swimming as a little bit of cross-training and just fully focused on cycling, and maybe set you out to go do some time trialing or go do some,
I would like
dip your toe into the waters of gravel racing.
Yeah.
I don't know if you're really
built
keen
for...
Well, no, not built by anything, but...
I'm not built for sprinting.
No, I'm just saying, I don't know if you're built or really keen on doing the road racing stuff, but I still think you would do fine there. But I do know that when I first started riding with you, and when we would go out and give it the beans out there at Vancouver Lake, my God, I was on the rivet with you on your TT bike, and I'm trying to chase you down and keep up, and you were crazy strong, and that's when you were really like tuned in to the triathlon stuff. I just feel like you've been not going through the motions, but you've been like solely focused on your ankle, and you're using your bike as a means of just staying fit, but you're not training.
Right.
So I'd be curious to see what would happen if Matt Legrand just said, all right, I'm going to press pause on running and I'm going to focus on building the bike and making myself as fast as I can possibly be there. What would happen? What would you be able to do with that?
I think it's whenever we talk about like how do you get motivated for these things, it's like we always talk about like sign up for a race, sign up for something. And so I think if there's that carrot that's there where it's like, I really want to do XYZ
duathlons, aqua bikes.
Aqua bikes are they're lame. They're like,
make them cool, Matt.
Make them cool. I just think it's hard because you're taking the part that you're, not that I'm saying I'm talented, but like you take the part where you're talented and you're good and you're taking that away, and then you're like, here are the other two sports that you're not that good at. Do those and make those cool.
Yeah.
And I don't think they're cool. I mean, I've talked about this before in the podcast where it's like, it's your scrapper people that are hurt and can't do stuff, and they hop in the aqua bike, and if you win, it's still like, you did good job.
But you know that you've got running in your repertoire of like skills, and that's something that you're awesome at, and you're not able to do that right now because you're hurt.
Yeah.
Table yourself, shelve it, put it aside, and let it kind of recoup itself, and then go get those two other things that maybe they're not quite as strong of a skill set, and just build the crap out of them.
Well, and the other thing that I just think that would be more of building that motivation piece would just be, signing up for a gravel event or signing up for some sort of, I would love to do some sort of longer time trial thing. I know I don't even have a time trial bike right now, but it's like, I like that kind of stuff. Like that's what gets me excited versus, maybe even like an aqua bike type event. I'm not that I wouldn't do one. I would do an aqua bike and I would have fun and it would be great. I probably had more fun like doing a triathlon and kind of hobbling through the 5K and filming it all and having that part of that aspect of it all. And part of me is okay with like, I don't have to be as competitive anymore. I'm enjoying filming all this stuff, and I think that's okay. And it's very hard to do both. It's very hard to like do a really good job in a triathlon, like race to win, and try to film it. Yeah, I don't think you can do both. I mean, there are people that try. I just don't think it's turns out as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Well, we do appreciate those videos that you put out and your perspective and all that stuff. I just feel like I see you over here wanting so bad, and I kind of it resonates with me because I want to so badly get back to being competitive on the bike, and I'm just like, I can't. I just can't do that right now at this point in time. But I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with a means to an end for you. And, and again, for selfish reasons, I'd love to see you just like fully jump into cycling because then we can go train together and do all kinds of fun stuff together.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, I've definitely thought about that same exact thing where it's like, oh, I can just hop on cycling. Yeah. Like cycling's good. Cycling's fun.
Yep.
Yep.
What was that, Lance?
And it's okay to have like a shift in focus for a little while. I mean, Matt's been struggling with this Achilles thing for so long, and I'm sure it's been extremely frustrating for you. But I mean, to have a shift in focus or to change what your goals are with certain things is okay. I mean, things wear out, things break down, you know. Goals change, and that's okay for that to happen. We all go through that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so. and I'm totally okay with that. And my experience switching from running to triathlon, I know they seem similar, but for me, it was like a world of difference. It was such a good experience that it just makes me think like, what if I take on some other sport? Maybe it's paddleboarding. Maybe it's maybe it's ping pong.
Yep.
Like it doesn't like. I'm confident that I can switch and be passionate about something else. And I have no problem trying other things. So,
right. Your one last thing today is going to be the name of your YouTube channel for ping pong.
Yes. Secret. It's a secret channel right now.
There you go. Hey, Lance, you want to backpedal?
I can backpedal. I have been in Utah this whole last week. I came out here to spend some time with my son and daughter who are living in Utah. It was my son's 26th birthday yesterday. And so I came out here to hang out with them and whatnot. On the bike, it has been, it's kind of interesting that we were talking about this with Matt. I've had an extremely frustrating week on the bike. I'm not feeling good at all.
Oh no, is your back?
I've been having some back issues, but I think the back issues just led to this detonation of my focus or you know, I'm struggling at the moment with my motivation for what I'm trying to do. My whole plan this year was to hopefully do well in the Cyclocross Crusade series if it happened, which actually starts this weekend coming up.
Yep.
That was what I was kind of gearing toward. And right as it's about to start, I have just lost my mojo. And I don't know if it's because I have done so much. I actually counted it up. I've done 43 races this year already, and it's been a long season, and I'm kind of wondering if I have done too much. That's ridiculous. It's not that.
Hey, Lance, are you sure you want to drive to Utah to do a cyclocross race? Lance, are you sure you want to drive down to Eugene to go do a cyclocross race?
Right.
Sorry. Couldn't resist.
I know. You're right. You're absolutely right. I just thought, what the heck? I just kept doing it. You know, I came out here. I made it here for a Tuesday night. They have a nightly race here in Provo called P-Town Cross, and I was coming out to spend time with the kids, so I showed up to do this race, and they only had 3 waves: an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave. That was it. No other.
No age group, no anything.
No ages, no nothing. Just A, B's, or C's. And the A's and B's went together, and the C's went together. So there were really only 2 like races. You know, it's a smaller race, whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm like signing up, and I'm like, I don't know if I should do the A's or the B's, because most of the older people did the B wave, and I'm just like, what the heck? I'll do the A's.
Yeah, I think you should.
And so I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna roll up to the front row and just race with the A's. They blow the whistle, and I was immediately blown out the back.
That's good for you to every once in a while have a hard race.
It was like, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. I mean, I didn't feel good. My back didn't feel good. My legs didn't feel good. It was just like, oh, what are you doing? And so I was just immediately blown out the back. I think I beat one person. I think I was like second to last in the whole wave. And I got caught by like 4 people in the B wave. So, yeah, not a real good showing for me.
So let me just say this. From the outside looking in, it sounds like you had one bad race and you're feeling very down on yourself or life or whatever.
Let me
keep going.
Let me tell you about this next race.
Okay, keep going. So wait, we have 2 bad races out of 42. Yeah. That's not bad.
So all week I struggled just motivating myself to get on the bike. I mean, there were 3 days where I would not have ridden if it wasn't for this stupid 100-day streak.
Oh.
So, I mean, I didn't even I just wanted to sleep and hang out with my kids. I did not even want to ride my bike. And every time I got on my bike and started riding, I felt better.
Yep.
And I'm sure everybody goes through phases like this, but man, I just felt terrible. So Saturday comes around. There's a race in Ogden, Utah, and it's a race I did last year in the 45 plus category and won by 40 seconds. I had a great race last year, so I'm feeling pretty good. It's all the same people. There was 3 or 4 other people I didn't know who they were, and I lined up. They blow the whistle. I'm hanging with the leaders for the first lap, and I did not even finish in the top 10. I just faded, and so I
think it's.
I don't know.
Did you look at your power numbers? Were your numbers really off? What are you seeing?
My normalized powers on cross races are usually around 300, and I was only pushing my normalized power was only 260 in both these races. So 40 watts lower for normalized power.
That sounds substantial, a decent amount.
Just out of curiosity, have you been feeling okay? I mean, you don't have a cold or anything like that coming on? Because there's a cold coming around, and generally speaking, your power meter is going to tell you that you're getting sick before you know you're getting sick.
It's called COVID.
Yep.
It's probably should not joke around about it, but
no, I don't feel like I'm sick at all. I feel like I'm tired,
Gotcha.
I'm worn out.
Yep,
you know,
a little overtrained.
Yeah, I've done too much.
Well, and you've been traveling. That takes a lot.
Yeah, but traveling in the van is relaxing. It's good. I can stop whenever. I've always got a place to relax. You know, so. Yeah. I don't know. I really think it's just because I've done too much. And so, I don't know. That's, I'm a real person. Stuff wears out and breaks down. And this is, I've dug this hole myself. Is it going to rebound for the Cross Crusade? I have no idea. There's 6 races.
Yeah.
I feel like crap. I have my expectations just went from hopefully being in the top 5 in the series to I just want to go have fun at these races and I'm not going to worry about my results.
It's not a bad way to look at any of this stuff, right? Yeah. Where it's this is supposed to be fun. Let's go do that.
Or maybe that's the approach you take for the first week or two, and then you just come off the bubble or the rivet for this rest of this week and see what happens. I mean, don't write it off, but just go out there and have fun and kind of rebound. And you're going to have a couple throwaway races in there anyway, so let these be them.
Yeah, that's a good point. That's maybe what I'll try to do.
Yeah. And
I don't know
about you, but every time I tell myself I'm going to just go out there and have fun and I take that pressure off of myself, I generally have a better result.
Me too. Yep.
Right.
So
right.
That's cool. So you're heading home. When are you going to be back in town? Is that a today thing, tomorrow thing?
Yeah. No, I'm only 8 hours from home. I'll be home tonight.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Anything else,
so
sir?
I'll be back. No, that's about it. I'm just, other than that, I had a great time hanging out with some friends and my kids friends. And I even did some karaoke with my daughter, which was freaking hilarious.
That is hilarious.
Yeah, she wanted to go do karaoke at some bar one night. And I'm like, yeah, I'll come. And then I get there and I'm an inborn ham. I can't turn off I can't help but try to put on a show, and so whatever.
What was it, Foo Fighters?
I did Toto by Africa with my daughter.
Good call.
All right, there you go.
As a duet, we had a blast, and then she has this good friend, and he didn't want to do it, so I said I'd do a Van Halen song with him. So we did a Van Halen song.
Nice. Right on.
It was a good time.
Cool.
So.
Well, it'd be good to have you back in town.
Was fun.
Yep.
I'm on my way.
There you go. My back pedal's pretty quick, short and sweet. I rode on Zwift 7 times.
Oh no!
So my shoulder and that whole shoulder complex has just been really bad, not good, and I'm just trying to give it some rest. I also just needed to kind of have like a little downtime because I'm doing this whole like I ride my bike every day thing, and it's really stupid, and I'm on 427 days in a row.
Yep.
Don't do it. It's not smart. Don't recommend it to anybody. And today will be day 64 of the Dialed 100 as well, and I'm just really looking forward to this year coming to a wrap because I'm going to try and do a full calendar year because Matt mentioned that, and that has been sitting back in my brain. He's like, you did 365 days, but you haven't done a calendar year yet. And then it just so happens that a full calendar year will coincide with me doing 500 days as well. So we'll see. But yeah, we did do the Dialed Tuesday Zwift ride last night, and that was a lot of fun.
How did it go after the first loop or something?
Yeah, we did 3 laps. It ended up being 35 miles, and the group, basically we had one hot lap, and the group shrunk down as that lap went around because it was pretty hot, a little spicy, down to 4 people, and it was myself. Evan Price joined us on the ride last night, which is kind of cool, and then David Barna and Alan Plank. And when we got to the last section, it just pretty much became a sprint finish. Alan jumped early and was able to hold some pretty big whites.
Nice work, Mr. Plank.
I went back and looked at my power. I'm like, yeah, that was pretty pathetic, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I haven't done any intensity since the end of the flogging ride. So it's been about 5 or 6 weeks.
He's got a lot of get up and go.
He does. He's a strong dude.
He was on the podcast last week, and he's fantastic on the podcast.
Yeah, like Alan. He's a good dude.
He's good.
And then I was trying to chase him down. I'm like, my legs are like saying nope. And then David Barna came around me and came in second. I came in third, and Evan came in fourth. So that was fun. But yeah, that was a good time. And that's about all I have to say about that. Let's talk about some other stuff that's going on in the world. Did you guys hear about the stuff on, speaking of Zwift, the Zwift updates that are coming down the pipeline? Have you guys, I wanted just to touch on this a little bit because this is going to affect me personally quite a bit in quite a good way with some of the updates that are coming out.
I was thinking you were talking about the local legends on Zwift.
Well, that's lame, but
exactly.
Yeah,
that's why
I saw that, and that was the first thing I did. I'm like, really? That's like the least thing I care about ever. And like that's where we're putting our time, energy, and effort. And then I saw an article that DC Rainmaker had posted, and I guess Zwift now is doing kind of like all the other big mogul companies out there that are like they're doing their own little presentation, little keynote, but they did something similar, but they only did it for media. They didn't do a public launch. But anyway, long story short, they came out with 3 different things that are going to be changing on Zwift here pretty soon. The first one was that they've got their new map, the new Nyokyo map. It's basically Tokyo. It's the whole neon looking thing. Looks kind of cool. I mean,
looks awesome.
It's fun to have more maps and different things to do and different options. But there's other things that I wish that they would invest in more as opposed to more maps, because they have been coming out with new maps pretty regularly. But to know that they're coming out with a new map, no, that's great. And then the other things started to pop up. I'm like, yes, they're finally starting to make some traction there. The new user interface that's going to come up. So they're going to have a whole new UI look to it. When you first log in, there's going to be a lot more simplistic in terms of like, all right, do I want to come in here? Do I want to train? Do I want to compete? Or do I want to go explore? It's just going to make that process a little bit more simplistic. When you first log into Zwift, it's been the same since almost its
forever
inception.
And it is kind of crappy.
Yeah. So now you're going to log in and you're going to have the ability to kind of go do what you want to do a little bit more seamlessly, a little bit more easy. And it looks nice. And I'm like, okay, that's cool. I mean, a new user interface is always kind of fun. Sometimes that gets you inspired to go different things or see different routes and whatnot. So that was kind of cool. The one thing, though, that they announced, this will be the third thing that really kind of hit home with me. I'm like, it's about friggin' time, is the club expansions. And they've been talking about this. It's been in beta for a while. They had their Zwift version that they invited certain people to. Did you get in that? Was it Jarvis or something like that?
No.
So they've been running beta on it for God knows how long.
I have not been paying attention.
Yeah.
I've been too busy.
But they finally announced that. And it's going to finally be super simple for us to start running team rides, team races, or club rides and club races. And
that makes sense.
Right now, I don't know if anybody out there has ever set up an event with Zwift, and it's a lot of fun. Like last night, we have fun. Like they lump everybody together. You can see like everybody's color coded, and they keeps everybody on the same route with each other. And you have the options of making it a race. You can tune out the
effect, all the little things.
You can tune out all of the other riders on there, and we don't do that because it's really hard. If somebody wants to join the ride and they're not connected or they're late, then they won't be able to see us and we won't be able to see them. So we keep it on so we see the rest of the world. But the work that goes into that behind the scenes is a little bit of a hassle. I have to put it out there to the world like, hey, if you want to join our ride, if you want to be a part of this rides that we're going to be doing on Tuesday nights, you need to go onto Zwift and you have to connect with me personally. And I'm not asking, I don't care about having more followers, but you need to connect with me. And if we're not connected, I can't send you an invite to this ride.
How many Zwift followers do you have?
I have no idea. I have it on private so that I don't get followed by every time. I actually went and removed probably a good 100 of them because I was open. But long story short, I have to go through and make sure that we're connected. So I have to go pay attention to make sure that I'm connecting with them and following them back. And then when I go to actually launch a ride, I have to go in there and set up all the different parameters, like where we want to ride, what do we want to go for time or distance, what routes do you want to do, and then you have to add people. So then I have to go into the plus button. And when we first had this option, you could only add, I think it was up to 50 people. Yeah. And then now they have it to 100. But I have to go through there and I have to like select every single person. And if you follow like, I don't know, like 500 people,
it's hard.
It's hard. It's a pain in the butt. Yeah. And that's why I trimmed it down so it was just people that I know. Right. So I can go and send them all an invite. Well, they've at least changed it now from 50 to 100. I think at some point in time it might have been 80. And so they've been ramping that up. So it's a hassle that, to go through and like select who gets to go. Well, and then once that's done, then you hit, save, and then it'll send out an invite to everybody. And then they have to go and look at their notifications and all this stuff. Where now it's just going to be a club. So Matt could come and he could join the Dialed Cycling Club page on there, or team page, or whatever we end up having, and it'll have its own little events that we can set up. You'll have your own avatar, you'll have your own color, and you can just kind of customize a little bit so people will know who you are, and you'll join the club. And then all I have to do now, if I'm not mistaken, is go create an event in the club, and then everybody gets an invite, and that just makes life so much more simplistic for me. So
that's good.
You know what else is great about that is it should make any type of Zwift event we do much easier for people to join. I mean, I love that. That's fantastic. We could have listeners to the podcast. Be part of the club and can ride with us virtually. Much easier than you having to try to friend somebody that is a listener that you don't know their name and don't know what, it's
correct.
I love that.
Yeah. How open are you going to be? Anyone that wants to join can join? Are you going to approve people? How do you want to do it?
I think that's going to be...
Are there limits to
That'll
club
be
sizes?
Determined based on the number of people that they'll allow into a group ride. If it's going to be unlimited, then I don't have a problem. Anybody who wants to come join us, that's fine. And, we're going to still have the Discord thing. So, I don't have a problem with those people coming. If they're a problem, maybe we'll have the ability to kick them out. You don't want some person coming in there and ruining things. But as long as you have some ability to kind of moderate things or, just kind of keep everything in check, then I don't have a problem. If anybody wants to come ride with us, hey, that's great.
I know.
I could always use more cycling friends. So, so I was really excited about that. And there's a lot more that I could probably dig into. And, we can do like racing on there. Like we can set up our own races and we can post them and say, hey.
Oh, cool. Like a club race.
Exactly. And we can do that now. But again, it's still a pain in the butt to send the invites to all the people and to promote it. But if we wanted to do stuff once we get this launched, that'd be fantastic. Now, the downside is I think we're still looking at a few more months before they roll this out. They didn't say, they said probably maybe early 22, maybe.
Early next year.
Yeah.
So that's typically, we'll see.
This article in Velo News says that sometime in November 2021, but you know how those.
Okay. Well, when I was reading DC's at the end, I think he mentioned that it was possibly 22. So I think it's still kind of up in the air. If it's November, hey, that would be fantastic. That'll make me super happy because we do have this 21-week thing that we do with Zwift, and we're on year 5, and I'd love to have that as an option. It really makes things quite nice. So.
This is cool. I didn't know anything about I've heard some like little bits and tidbits of different headlines and pieces, but like I haven't read this article yet about all the changes that are coming to Zwift. So that's exciting.
Yeah.
I should make a video about it, or we should.
Yeah, I think that'd be actually
especially
a really good
when we
idea.
explore the club stuff.
Yeah. Cool. Anything that you want to add to that, Lance? I know that you're not the biggest Zwift fan. Not that you don't like Zwift, it's just you hate riding on the trainer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just that I hate riding on the trainer. Actually, as far as being on the trainer, Zwift is the thing I love the most about being on the trainer. So
yeah,
it's, good.
Yeah.
No, I like those options for sure. They needed to make a change to the homepage anyway, and it'll make it easier to navigate things too. So
yeah. And have you gotten on there and looked at their training programs or platform or rides, the programs that you can use on there? I haven't looked at it in the longest time. And generally when I do go on there, I'm using something that I made for myself. But do you know if they've invested in anything there? It just seems like that would be such a natural next step to try and take some business away from the likes of Trainer Road, and it doesn't seem like it would be terribly difficult to have some better training programs on there. But do you know anything about that?
I don't know if they've added more training type things.
Yeah.
I know that if I have a choice between doing a workout, I'm a Trainer Road subscriber,
Yep.
and I use their workouts all year long.
Yep.
But if I can find a similar workout on Zwift, I would much rather do it on Zwift because it's a lot more virtual. So
Yeah.
I may have said this last year. There were many times where there were simple workouts that I was doing, on sweet spot workouts that had certain distances. I would recreate them in Zwift so that I could do them on Zwift and not have to do it on Trainer Road.
Gotcha.
But, yeah, so I don't know if they've updated things. I just know that.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything come out specifically, and I guess I just need to get on there and kind of look around. But it's like you go look at some of their training plans, and it's just like, what's the purpose of this? And you're throwing all of this stuff as it just so that it looks all colorful and cutesy, or is it what is your reasoning behind this? So I'm hoping that at some point in time they really dial that in, because it would I think it would make the platform that much more valuable.
I know that last year Matt Lieto, who is he's a former professional triathlete, and he's a gravel racer now. He's had some medical issues the last couple of years that have kind of kept him out of racing. But he developed a whole gravel training program that you could actually do on Zwift, and his workouts were quite focused on the unique things that you need to have in gravel. And there were, as you were doing, I did 5 or 6 of his workouts on Zwift, and as you did them, there would be dialogue that would pop up to say, this is why we're doing this at this point. This is how it relates to a race.
Nice.
You're going to hit a point where, we're doing low cadence, grind up a hill. And we're doing this because you're going to hit a point where you're geared out on your bike and you have to grind low cadence to try to stay with the lead group. I mean,
It reminds me of Trainer. Have you used Trainer Road? I feel like that's one of their things is where they pop up and then give you instructions on how you're feeling, why you should feel this way, what you're doing. It's kind of cool.
About half of their workouts have in-ride instructions, not all of them.
Yeah.
And the in-ride instructions are valuable. It tells you what you should be thinking about, what you should be focusing on. Okay, let's do this one down in the drop, so that you work a different set of muscles. Let's do this one at this cadence, and that kind of, without those in-ride instructions, just the quality of the workout just improves dramatically. So,
yeah,
I guess I like that.
Cool. Well, I think that's pretty valuable. I'm gonna have to go check that out, because that would be something that I might be interested in looking into and possibly following if it's a functional, productive workout.
Yeah.
Cool. Any other comments on the Zwift stuff? I've got another one that I wanted to jump into, if you guys are good with that.
Yep.
Okay. So it's not brand new news. This came out, I don't know, it was towards the end of August, if I'm not mistaken, but SRAM has their little collection of companies, if you will. And they've since launched a gravel specific lineup, the Explorer, minus any vowels.
Right. That's the thing to do now.
Exactly.
Or it was. And I guess it's coming back. I don't know.
Yeah. Wahoo. I don't know.
Wahoo.
Anyway.
It's Wahoo's thing. Can't use it.
Yeah. So you've got a dropper post, you've got a gravel specific drivetrain, you've got a gravel suspension fork, and you've got gravel specific wheels. And it's really just catering to the gravel market. Now, I think that there's some cool stuff here, and there's some other stuff that I'm still kind of curious if it's going to be, all that in a bag of chips. But I was kind of curious, are you guys in on this stuff? Do you think that this is stuff that we need for gravel, or is it just somebody trying to sell us more stuff, or are we just slowly turning gravel bikes into cross-country mountain bikes? What's the deal?
Yes to all of those. We need it. We are slowly turning these bikes into cross bikes, or some sort of cross-country mountain bike type bike. Are they trying to sell us more stuff? Absolutely. So, but when I started looking at this stuff, I immediately thought of Lance, because it is really interesting, this concept of just adding more suspension to bikes. There's study after study showing that as you add suspension on any sort of rough roads, it's so much faster.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, my big question is like, yes on all the suspension. I like it. Your hangups are going to be like, well, it's going to weigh more and it's going to be way more expensive. Other than that, I don't have a major issue with it. I did have questions for you, Lance. Like, what are you allowed to do in cyclocross? Are you allowed to have, I know that you can't just grab your mountain bike and do those, right? I know a lot of people do that, but I don't think that's really allowed by the official rules, is it?
No. Beginner races,
no one cares.
Local races, stuff like that, no one cares. It's actually only the races that are actually put on by the UCI.
Yes.
It's not even all of USA Cycling's races have all these rules, but it has to be a drop bar bike. There can't be suspension on it. The tires can't be any bigger than 33 millimeters. 33 is the largest tire you can have, and they actually measure it if they're adhering to the UCI rules. And so, yeah, there are specific rules with that, and quite frankly, in a cyclocross race, a cyclocross bike is generally faster than any of the others.
That would make sense, right?
Yeah,
that would make sense if that's the situation. But I'm sure there are courses, cyclocross courses, depending on the whatever, that a mountain bike would be faster, or any sort of bike with suspension would be faster, theoretically.
Yes, there are, and I've even done some races, like
recently.
even the one at Alderbrook. Where I had a really good day in the 50-plus field, and I took fourth, and the guys who took second and third were both on mountain bikes, because the course kind of favored a mountain bike setup. But we're doing this for fun. We didn't need UCI rules in a race like that. So.
No, I get that,
I'm totally fine with that. Yeah.
I think that there are, I think there's fairly clear data that having suspension is faster.
Yeah.
Depending on the situation, right? It's not like, if you're on a buttery smooth road, it's obviously not going to be faster. But like, for the most part, other than that, it's like, if you're on any sort of reasonably rough roads, even gravel, right? Like, most gravel roads aren't going to be perfectly, buttery gravel, I don't think.
No.
So suspension's going to be a touch faster. You're going to have better rolling resistance.
Yes, they're always better on rowdier courses. Rougher courses, suspension is always better, with the caveat of how much climbing there is. If there's too much climbing and you have a weight penalty because of the suspension parts you have on your bike, you are going to climb slower.
Now, the component set that Jake mentioned was the the SRAM Explorer stuff. The weight penalty is not super massive on that, from what I saw.
Yeah, well, the gravel fork on that
is a little
it's
bit
called
heavy.
a Rudy. It's 1,215 grams. I need to double check and see what the weight of a fork is. But
fork.
there are like road frames that weigh less, like the frame set, the fork and the frame weigh less than that 215 grams or 2,000 or 1,215 grams. But for a fork, that's super light.
Still light.
It's really light.
And I what I thought was interesting about that particular component was it still had like rivets for adding like panniers or like travel bags, like what you would want to do if you're riding gravel,
possibly your fenders too, keeping that mud and dirt off you.
I just thought, wow, okay, because you start thinking like, okay, well, what are you gonna give up? It's gonna be super super heavy. It's definitely going to be, expensive. You don't want to give up your attachment points for different things because it is, kind of a utility bike. But it sounds like they're trying to cover all that stuff.
So let me say this: the carbon forks generally are between like 500 and 800 grams. That's
I was
about
just
how
looking
much
that up. Yep.
Yeah, the carbon forks are right about in there. This one is 1,200 grams, and it has 30 millimeters of travel, which is also fully lock-outable for climbs. I got to tell you, I can't tell you how many times I've been in a gravel race or on a gravel ride where that 30 millimeters of travel on that front fork would just be butter. It would just be so nice to have that little bit of travel. I mean, I'm like, there's two parts to this whole Explorer gravel set that are extremely intriguing to me, and it's the fork and the seat post.
Yep.
The other stuff, you can kind of.
I'm on the same exact wavelength with you, my friend. Because they've got their drivetrain, and then they've got their wheel set, and then they've got the fork, and they've got the dropper post. I can do without the wheel set. I can do without the drivetrain because actually I think I prefer the range that they have on a lot of their stuff right now. That's more of a mountain bike cassette.
Okay, what do you ride on? I can't see from here. Do you have something big back there? Is it like
do.
Is it like a 1050? Like is it?
It's exactly what it is. It's the 1050, and Lance has the 1052 on his bike right now.
Yeah.
I actually quite like that with the 46 tooth chainring up front. I find that does really well for me. It's a very well-rounded gear ratio set.
They announced like a 1044, so something kind of in between like a road and a. It probably depends on where you live, right? Like if you live around here, we have the hills. Yeah, we have the hills that you can use whatever you got.
I mean, there's hills that we'll go back and do that are like sometimes 3, 4, 5 miles long, and they're not. They're pretty pitchy, dog. So they. Anyway, so having that extra bit of gearing for climbing is really nice, and we do a lot of stuff on the bike too that, I want to go ride some single track stuff, and around here you're not going to find buttery smooth stuff. You're going to still be doing with rocks and roots and ruts. And
in the bike that you have, it's called the what's it called? The
Urs. It's short for unrestricted. Yeah,
and that does have some suspension-ish type pieces to it.
It does. It's got a little elastomer. Exactly.
Currently on the market, it's still pretty unique, right?
Is. And it's about 10 or 15 millimeters of travel in this elastomer bit that goes in the seat stay. Yeah, and it really dampens a lot of the trail chatter that you get, and it just helps you keep better traction on the road. So if it's going to make you more comfortable and give you better traction, and there's not really a weight penalty, I don't find that like if I get into a sprint that it's slowing me down at all. Yeah. It works really well.
I think there was a video recently that Dylan, what's Dylan's last name?
Johnson. Yep.
Yeah, that he did, and he was talking about, having his suspension fully locked out or just wide open, and how much time and wattage he lost.
Yeah.
He was like nothing.
Yep.
And that was like, okay, well, there's not as many negatives to having suspension as you'd think. So, why not put it on every bike? I mean, I don't know, not every bike, but yeah, you can see why it's valuable on gravel. I'm all for it. I can see why the purists are like, don't turn our bikes into mountain bikes.
Yeah.
I can see the argument there.
Yeah. But if you can lock it out and that's going to make you feel a little bit more comfortable, that's fine. If it's going to keep better connection with the tire and the surface that you're riding on, that's a huge advantage. And like Lance said, he's won races because of his ability to take some chances and having the bike be that much more like responsive to dealing with the different kinds of terrain. So
do you think that people that are buying gravel bikes are really worried about the speed? Or are they more worried about like having a bike like that for a utility bike or adventure bike? Or
I get people coming into the lab all the time, and the biggest driving thing for that person to want to get a gravel bike is number one, just getting off the road with cars. That's the biggest thing. The second to that is like, I'm really intrigued by this, the beauty of being out there on these gravel roads, what I can see, and just having another bike that I can have as like another option. I mean, that's probably the second biggest thing. But like I said, getting away from cars is the number one thing.
Yeah.
I think most of it, people seeking adventure and not as much racing.
And if that's if that's the case, then why not have it be suspension from hell. I mean, I don't know. Like, I'm going crazy here, but like, you can imagine that like a comfortable ride is nice. Like, we all like bigger tires. We all like the feeling of connectivity to the, trail itself and not, falling all over the place. I don't have a major issue with this new component set. We need someone to argue the other side of the coin where it's like, don't turn my gravel bike into a mountain bike. We need that guy.
For that person, I'll tell you, they still make full rigid gravel bikes. If
there's a couple of different brands that have very racy, like gravel bikes.
Sure.
Which is, and that's cool too, actually. Like, almost like, I love the fact that like road bikes are getting, a little bit more spacious for tires, because then you can go big,
Oh yeah.
Which would be cool. Like, I would love to throw on like some massive tires on my road bike if I could in the winter.
Yeah. So
because who cares?
BMC has their road machine, which is a road bike, right? But they call it their Swiss Army knife of bicycles.
Yeah.
And the clearance in the stays and the fork are pretty substantial. As a matter of fact,
up to 30 or something.
It's more than that.
Is it more than that?
We fit, for a customer who had asked, we fit some 33 millimeter gravel tires on there, and there was still room to spare. And his thought was, I might even be able to get some 35s on here. I wouldn't personally do it because the clearance and the tolerance there just isn't fantastic. But to have that, and that's what he's using that bike for, is to ride mixed surfaces and a little bit of gravel stuff now. So you can do that kind of stuff, and it is kind of neat to see those bigger tolerances.
Well, and in the wintertime when you're just going to get out there and get the miles in, like, it'd be great to go big.
Yeah. So the whole premise of this whole discussion was to talk about all these little things. Let's move into some of the other things. Like, let's talk about the dropper post. Do we need to have a dropper post on a gravel bike?
I can tell you that my previous bike had a dropper post on it, and I loved having it.
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need it, because my current bike, I have the BMC ERS, and I don't have a dropper post on it. But I miss it.
Yep.
I always find situations where I kind of wish I had the dropper post, and oh my gosh, this Explorer dropper post just is so intriguing. I kind of want one so bad.
I'm going to tell you, I 100% want one, and I don't kind of want one. I need one in my life. So there's a couple reasons why I love this one. First and foremost, it's electronic and it's wireless, and you push a button and it's so simple to install. And to have
it's wireless.
Yes.
You need it because it's wireless. We need it because of the wirelessness.
Yes, you don't have to run those cables. It's not a huge hassle. So you've got that. And then the second thing is there's going to be people that don't race. They're like, well, why would I need a dropper post? Well, you get yourself down lower. When you're going through technical stuff, or if you're on a long descent, just getting your center of gravity down. Yes, it's confidence inspiring, and yes, that can help you go faster, but I think it's just safer in general.
I think so too. I think that's the big thing, is the safety of having that as an option.
And there's so many times where you might hit like a pothole or something like that, and your center of gravity is really high, and you're not able to absorb that, and it's going to kick you over the bars. You don't want that to happen.
Okay, wait.
Descending, right?
Huh? Didn't we have a teammate in a race this week who got pitched over the bars by hitting a whoop and broke his collarbone or something?
Yes, we did.
Yeah, and that was just from not that you would have a dropper post like this in a cyclocross race, but that could have prevented that very thing.
Yeah, a lot of times dealing with that kind of a situation, and you'll run across that kind of stuff out there on gravel roads. You'll see just about everything, but being able to get your weight back and be able to get your weight down makes a huge difference with your bike handling. And we know this from experience in racing and riding mountain biking. Yeah. So I think that's a huge benefit there. And then there is the race component. Like, Lance, when you're bombing downhill on your oars, do you ever get in that super tuck position?
I have gotten into a super tuck on my gravel bike on a gravel road.
Yeah, so
I have done that.
That should be a big no-no. I mean, it just takes one little thing at speed, and next thing you know, you're done. But if you've got a dropper post now, then you can get that down. I think it's up to 40 or 75 millimeters or whatever. They've got two different options. I'll pull that up here in just a second. But
it's just 75 millimeters.
Just getting down that much makes a huge difference in your aerodynamics and that center of gravity.
How much does it add a lot of weight to the bike? Do you remember?
It's going to add some weight. I don't know. I don't have those numbers right in front of me.
I'm impressed of the size that they can do it in that small of a diameter, right? Like, because that's pretty interesting. Because then you start thinking, well, you can put this on any bike.
Yeah. One of the cool things about this one in particular, though, is a lot of gravel bikes, or just about all of them, are going to be a 27.2 seat post diameter.
Okay.
So the problem is there just aren't a lot of dropper posts out there in this day and age that are 27.2. So not only is this one a 27.2, but it is pretty lightweight. And one of the things that they did was they have it's air spring only. So in having that, it drops the weight down and it makes it so it can be a smaller diameter. And just having it be an air spring as well with no dampener in there, when it's down or it's disengaged from its most locked out position, it actually has a little bit of a shock quality to it. So you'll actually get a little bit of a reprieve there too from more stuff. So you've got a little bit more suspension in theory. So there's a lot of pluses to this, and they do have two different options. They've got one that drops down 50 millimeters, and they have one that drops down 75 millimeters. So you can pick your poison there. And
I wonder if it's like if you're tall or if you need a lot of seat posts on your bike, it's better to pick the big one versus, I don't know. That'd be interesting.
Maybe it just might be more to do with the kind of riding that you like to do. And I'm sure there's going to be a little bit of a weight savings if you're going with something from 50 to 75.
The whole thing seems to be like dependent upon what kind of riding you like to do. Like if you're doing... If you know you're going to descend some difficult terrain and you're going to use it, then absolutely. Yeah. But if you're on mild gravel roads, like when you're bike packing or something like that, that kind of slow crawl, I feel like you're not hammering anywhere on the bike packing
it's
side
probably just not necessary.
Yeah.
Plus, if you're bike packing, maybe you're gone for extended periods of time, you don't want to be dealing with more electronics.
Yeah. All of these take batteries. So,
what were you going to say, Lance?
I found the weight on it. It's 560 grams, so it's really not that heavy. But I can't tell you how intriguing it is to be able to just move it, and it's featherable. Some dropper posts aren't featherable. It's either all the way up or all the way down. You could drop it down like a centimeter, and then you have a shock absorber. It moves up and down. I mean,
Lance, what are you asking for? What are you going to ask for Christmas, buddy?
I want this for Christmas. I'm so intrigued by it. Yeah. I'm like, I want it on my bike. It like checks all the boxes.
Yeah, and what's more is like you don't have to have the SRAM or electronic shifting on your bike in order to make this work. They do make a remote, and I believe it's an extra charge, but they do have a remote that you can put on your bars, and then you've got wireless electronic shift or dropper post that fully works.
Yeah, it's cool. It's cool tech.
Yeah.
Cool. I'm excited for, and this is probably multiple iterations away, where we're looking at the vibration on the road and automatically adjusting suspension.
Like a brain kind of thing?
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, Specialized had that brain piece thing, but I imagine that SRAM would have all the pieces around the bike that they could wirelessly do.
Yep.
Based in even in the pedals, right, where you're like detecting vibration in the pedals itself. Now that they have the speed play, I guess, I don't know what they're gonna. It doesn't seem like they would add that for gravel, but who knows what they've got planned. But that, and then it's just like, okay, then we can adjust suspension throughout the bike based on vibrations from the road. It'd be interesting.
Yeah, that'd be pretty killer. Just to have a smart bike to go out there and do everything.
Bike.
Yeah. What about the gravel wheels? Do we need gravel-specific wheels? Lance, where are you at on this?
That was just not intriguing to me at all. I don't think so. I mean, you need something that's going to hold. I don't know. I mean, wheels have come a long way. Almost every company has some type of gravel wheels.
Yeah.
But, I mean, come on. They're mountain biking has been making whatever. I don't think so.
Yeah.
They talked about how like there was some additional compliancy within the wheel from like side to side. I don't know.
I don't know if I want to have that extra compliancy or that flex. I just feel like it sounds like something that's going to wear out eventually. I think that I almost prefer to have a little bit more of a stiff wheel and then create my compliancy through running the appropriate kind of tire at the appropriate kind of tire pressure.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of where I'm at. But
I have no idea.
I believe they're a little bit on the pricey side too. I don't have that right in front of me, but
zip tax we used to call it.
Exactly.
They were $1,800. for the wheel set.
Oh, that's expensive, but it's not deal breaking. As long as the internal width of the tire is correct and it works with the gravel tires that you want to run, and that it's tubeless compatible,
hookless
potentially.
Probably.
That's where the industry is going. And Zip is pretty much doing all their stuff. It seems like hookless now. So, I mean, it's not something that I wouldn't ride, but in the same breath, it's not something that I think that I need or that I would spend my money on. So, thoughts then? Where are we at? We kind of talked about the drivetrain.
All of us nerded out and we're like, yes, give me all the new toys.
Yeah,
which is just it's how we are. I think we're all we're all tech junkies on this particular podcast. We need Evan. Yeah. Where's Price? He'd be like, give me a time trial bike that I can take on a gravel road that with zero compliance,
or my
with
old
an aero
Olay.
helmet, with my old Olay, aluminum only.
So, Lance, what will you be purchasing in the next year?
Ooh, good question.
I'll definitely get the dropper post at some point. If I can find it, I'll get that. The fork is very intriguing to me, but not as intriguing as the dropper post is.
Gotcha. I think I'm pretty much in the same boat. I want to ride that fork. I'm really intrigued by it. I want to know how it performs. I want to know how it feels. I want to feel if I'm feeling like I'm losing any kind of responsiveness.
What does it look like? I'm curious about that. Does it look like a big fork? I don't know.
No,
I don't want it doesn't.
I don't want it to look like I'm riding a mountain bike. I mean, sometimes I really think that gravel bikes are just pretty bikes. I just think that they look. It depends on the gravel bike, but I just think that certain gravel bikes just have like this kind of just beauty to them. Of like, it's almost like that classic like minimum kind of style.
Gotcha.
So.
I don't know.
Okay. There's a picture of it.
Yeah.
It looks fine.
Yeah, it looks fine. It doesn't look beefy or heavy. It looks appropriate for a gravel bike. I think size wise, it looks like it belongs. It's still kind of looking at this bike that looks like a road bike that's got suspension on it. I mean, yeah. It's like, what are you, bike? But I think once you get on it, ride
what are you? Who are you, bike?
Yeah.
What do you want to be when you grow
up? But I think once you ride it, I think the proof's going to be in the pudding. Once we can get a demo ride on this, I'm either going to fall in love with it and see all of the qualities, or I'm going to be like, I can live without that. But the dropper post for sure.
What's BMC going to do? Are they going to come up with a whole new bike to kind of support this component set? Are they going to just drop all that stuff on their current bike setup?
Well, this will work with any bike.
Yeah.
So you can install it on any gravel bike you pretty much want.
They probably don't have announcements coming out anytime soon. It's not the right time of year.
Yeah, it's not spec'd on any of their bikes right now for 22, but it might be something that we see in 23. And I know that they're already talking about Canyon possibly speccing it with the bike, their Grizzle.
Yeah, the Grizzle. Yeah. Canyon's an interesting company.
Yeah.
I just don't... I mean, I'm excited about them. I think that there's so much potential for that company. I just think that they need to price accordingly outside of Europe. I know that the prices in Europe are really good, and they just need to bring that over to the U.S.
Yeah, because we're buying a Canyon here. It's just like going in a bike shop and buying. And the whole thing was like, direct to consumer, it's going to be 20%, 30% less, and that's just not the case. It
hasn't happened yet. But I still think that there's potential for them to figure out the U.S. and now's not the time to be reducing bike prices because there's still a massive demand and a shortage of supply. So
correct. Yep, they're going to have to get pretty competitive, though, because there's a lot of stuff going on in the bike world. Pon is taking over cycling. That's the parent company that just purchased. We talked about it a little bit last week.
Yeah, the Cannondale.
The Cycling Sports Group, which is Cannondale.
Cervelo.
They own Cervelo. Right. So, there's stuff going on. I think that they just purchased Mike's Bikes, which was a huge specialized retailer, and now they're not dealing with specialized anymore, and Pon bought them, and that's going to be one of their... You think something's really afoot here, or do you think they're just like, these are our brands? We have all these different brands. I think that they're trying to go big. I think that they want to make something happen. Yeah. Like we're going to be big, and they're buying up stores. They're buying up brands. They're going to do direct to consumer, and they're going to have their own stores. So they can sell to you over the internet, or you can go into one of their shops. You can have one of their concept stores that you can walk into. They want to go big. Do something. Yeah. We'll see what happens. I mean, we'll see. Yep. Group set. You leaving that one alone though, Lance?
Yeah. I mean, it's intriguing that they make it a little beefier for off-road stuff and with a little more travel. But I'm really happy just with my force setup on my gravel bike. So I don't think.
Their rear derailleur too, it's only going to be one by specific, which is kind of interesting that they're really just all in on the whole one by thing. And there were a lot of people for a long time who said, oh, you can't do the one by, the gear ratios aren't any good, you're going to have holes, you're not going to be able to keep up. And I think that everybody's quietly proved them wrong on that. As a matter of fact, and the winning bikes for Unbound this past year were running one by drivetrains. So
wow.
So, yeah.
Was it like all of them were one by, basically?
A lot of them. There's still a lot of people out there running two by, but I think when you start talking about just the future of it, I think that we're getting away from that. So,
yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, I don't know if I have much else to talk about. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to bring up? Is there any big news out there? Anything that needs to be talked about that's pressing? Bueller?
I can't think of anything big right now.
We can leave the whole USA crit debacle alone if you want, Jake.
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's probably read that, and I think USA Crits, they've dismissed the person in question here, and I think that they're just trying to figure out what their stance is going to be and how they're going to police this going forward. And I think that it'll probably end up sorting itself out, but I would like to see a little bit more of it get sorted out before we start talking about it too much. I think it's unfortunate that happened.
Yeah,
that person didn't get filtered out long ago, because I don't think he's been with the organization for like decades, but he's got some pretty serious things that were on his sheet, and I don't think USA Crits did enough due diligence there, which is unfortunate. So, but that's good. That's why we have Say Sport. That's a good thing. I think that we're getting a little bit more notoriety for that. So, right on. All right, let's get into one last thing. Matt, what do you got?
Okay, so I posted a couple videos recently. Basically, there was a Polar watch announcement right before I left for Boston, which is a really nice watch. A lot of good options. It's kind of like their Garmin Phoenix kind of watch. It's really nice. So that's great. I'll come back and review that one, maybe give it away in a couple of weeks or a couple months. Then I posted Kona's getting moved to St. George. What does that mean for the future of triathlon video? I posted that on the date that Kona would have happened, like October 10th or something like that, whichever day that was. And that's interesting because, Ironman has this option to start moving the World Championships around.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are like, die on the hill of don't move it, keep it. And I kind of probably fall in that spot, but like reading the comments from the people that watch the video about they should move it. Like we're here in Europe and it's just like people don't even know about Kona. Like they should just move the race around the world and they'll get more. They made good arguments within the comment section. It kind of had me come around to being like, yeah, you know what? It's not a bad idea. So that's an interesting video if you guys want to check that out. And then the last video that I posted was top triathlon bikes of the top triathletes. I don't know if I said that right, but something like that. I think that's correct. And a lot of people are confused about that title, and even I'm confused about it because a lot of people were saying like, who are the fastest bikers in triathlon? And the video is more like, okay, no. Look at the top 10 triathletes. Some of them aren't the best bikers in the world, but what bikes are they on? And the video was more specifically about their bikes. A lot of Canyon bikes. Gotcha. There was Pinarello bike. There was, let's see, what else was there? Giant. There was two guys on a Giant bike.
All right.
Yeah. So, there's not as much variety as I would hope when you're kind of looking at, you want to see a whole bunch of triathlon bikes. But I may make another video similar and kind of talk about the women's top racers and see what they're on, because they're on some felts and they're on some other bikes that would be fun to kind of check out.
You got to also ask yourself the question, like, which one of those bike manufacturers has the most money, and is it he who throws the most money at said athlete is going to have the fastest bike?
Yeah.
I mean,
I put a disclaimer in the video like, hey, these athletes are paid to ride these bikes.
Yeah.
They're never going to say something negative about the bike.
Yeah.
They're going to say it's the best bike they've ever had.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to be a little critical when you hear that stuff and be like, yeah, it's still fun to look at this bike that's all tricked out and it's a nice bike and it's cool that there's quite a few pros that are riding Canyon, but it's like, that doesn't mean that it's the best bike, you know? It just means that that's what these pros are riding.
Who is arguably the fastest cyclist in pro triathlon?
I think that's tricky because you have pro cyclists switch over and ride. There's a guy named Magnus something. I can't remember what his last name is, and he is a very strong cyclist, but not necessarily.
Well, let me reframe
strongest.
that question then. Who's the fastest all-around triathlete in pro triathlon?
I put Jan Frodeno down. Yeah.
So what does he ride?
He's on Canyon.
So if you take Jan off of a Canyon, and everybody probably regards Canyon as, that's the fastest bike because he's the fastest triathlete.
Probably not. I don't.
But if you put him on a Pinarello, is Pinarello all of a sudden the fastest triathlon bike because he's riding it?
I think so. I mean, I think that's exactly the case where it's like it doesn't matter what he's riding.
Yeah.
He can probably ride a tricycle and whoop the hell out of us, right? Like he's just a good athlete, all around. And yeah, Canyon probably pays him very well, handsomely, and he can do some other things too, like really make some adjustments to things to make them much more aerodynamic, and specifically the aero bars is what I talked about in the video. His own specific aero bar system that he has is really cool, which I really liked talking about, and that was kind of an interesting piece of the video, but any of the brands are at that level are fine. They're good. Like the felt is great. That wasn't in the video.
Have they made much change to that bike? I haven't really been following it too closely. I know that felt the brand itself has changed quite a bit in the last 4 or 5 years.
They've tweaked it, and it's got it even has disc brakes and things on it and stuff. So yeah, they've tweaked that bike over the years.
Yeah, I just know like between I think it was like 2013 and 2016 that felt IA was pretty much it was nails.
It's a solid bike, but the what's funny is they did make a new announcement on that felt bike, or I don't know how much announcements they've made, but they put, you can see it on their pro riders. Most recently, there's been, I think, at least two pro women athlete on the new felt IA, which is a weird looking bike.
Really?
Yeah, I'll have to we'll pull up pictures after the podcast, but it's got this weird like hump to it. It's like one of those like only the mother of that bike is going to love the look of this bike, but it's something.
Okay, it's a bike.
I don't know. Maybe if it was really fast, people would be like, who cares what it looks like? But who knows? Yeah.
Cool. Hey, Lance Hepler, you got one last thing for us?
I just wanted to shout out to Scott Schultz and the Washougal cyclocross race that went on this past weekend. I was not able to attend, but I don't know if I'm stealing your thing, Jake. But
I was going to have one last things, but now I only have one, so Matt will be happy.
Well, I was going to add.
Perfect.
I had like 3 last things. That's what we're talking about. Well, yeah, go ahead.
So it just seemed like the event went off very well. It was well attended. It was well organized. It looked like the course was great. I'm just really proud of Scott and for our teammates that helped to show up. And a lot of teammates did a lot of volunteer work to make that event happen, and I want them to know that it's appreciated.
Yes, 100%.
Did you bring a camera out there?
I did. I brought all of the cameras.
All of the cameras. Did you get any video stuff?
I got a ton of video footage, and I am in the process of putting together a video.
Sifting through the video footage.
I'm trying to drill down 30 minutes of stuff down into about 10 or 12 minutes, and make it very palatable for lots of folks. And when that is done, I'll actually probably post that on the Dialed Cycling YouTube channel. And then I'll take some of the longer cuts, longer takes. And we've got a secondary channel that I've set up that's kind of just for the team, just for,
cool.
For instance, like Paul First, he won the Cat 1-2 race.
Oh, cool.
There was only 2 people in the Cat 1-2 race for his age group. I don't know why the Cat 1-2s did not show up to that race. That kind of makes me scratch my head. But the 35-plus Cat 2s, they've got a bunch of folks in there that they're not any schlep by any means at all. They're fast as all get out. So he raced. They put everybody together in that one race, and I think there was probably 15-ish people, maybe more, in that total race. And Paul being one of them, won. And he had a fantastic race.
He's had a really good season.
He's had a coming of age this year.
Yeah,
he's doing some special things. So
he's a real cyclist for sure.
So anyway, long story short, I had different people throughout the course of the day that I was interviewing, and different people that we were droning, and then there was a couple people that we asked if we could put some cameras on them or their bikes. So we have Paul's full entire race. He was wearing.
Did you mic up anyone?
I didn't mic up anybody on the race. Afterwards, we did interviews before and after a lot of the races, which was kind of cool. But Paul had a chest mount strap, and we had really good perspective of his race, and you could see a couple crashes in there.
Oh,
Paul did not crash because he's Paul. And Paul put on a show for everybody as well, and he was bunny hopping the barrier, so he had a lot of people yelling and screaming and cheering for him. So that was kind of cool. And then Chris Surratt was the other one. We have a handlebar mount from him, so kind of two neat perspectives there. And then we got a bunch of cool drone footage and a bunch of other stuff as well. So in the process of putting that together, and to reiterate what Lance said, that was a fan-freaking-tastic race. We had a good time out there, and I really tell people that live here locally that are interested in cyclocross, and maybe you're like, I don't want to drive to Washougal. Next time, drive to Washougal. It is the most beautiful venue. The course is fantastic, and there's so much potential out there. And they've been having racing out there for a long time. They've done the crossing and the other Washougal races, and those are fantastic. I have been to quite a few cyclocross venues, and that still, hands down, is my favorite. Yeah. That's just my 2 cents on that. So anyway, Lance, I'll let you get back to your stuff. I didn't mean to hijack your one last thing.
No, that was it. You did good. Thank you.
Sweet.
Move on. What's your other one, Jake?
Just again, I wanted to say thank you to Scott Schultz for letting us be a part of that. From the Dialed Cycling Lab to the Dialed Cycling team, it was a fantastically run event. And to all of our teammates and the people that are in our little cycling circle here, our little community, if you will, that stepped up, went out and volunteered, that was so awesome of you. You guys made all of the difference in the world. So a big thank you to you. And whatever we can do to repay that, just let us know. We're happy to help. The other thing is we are getting ready for 2022. This year's almost over. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention, but we're darn near to the end of 22. We're creeping up on November.
I have not been paying attention.
Yeah, I don't know what happened this year. It was just like scratching my head, like, why are we riding on Zwift as a team already? Didn't we just finish that? And I'm like, oh yeah, we've already exhausted the entire summer. But that said, the Dialed Cycling team is going to be fast and furious in 22. We've added some new folks. We've got a bunch of really cool things going on. We've got new fundraisers. We've got our Bikes for Kids thing coming up pretty soon.
Mod Pizza.
I'm hungry already. Exactly. We've got we were doing one with Chipotle too. That will be kind of neat.
Okay. I like eating.
Yeah. So. And we've got a lot of great things that are going on there from a fundraising perspective. But what we're looking for right now is anybody who might be interested in sponsoring the Dialed Cycling team. So we are actively taking on sponsors. Our window is open. It won't be for too much longer because we got to get to producing our kits so that we can have all of the logos on there. But if you're interested, reach out. You can go to the Dialed website, the dialedcycling.com, and you can click on the teams tab and you can see more about the different sponsorship opportunities there. So that's my one last thing. Sound good?
Perfect.
Good? Lance? All right, cool.
Yep.
We will be back next week. We still do have Wahoo. They're getting some things sorted out. We still do have them on the books of coming in to see us. We don't have a defined date yet, but we've got another guest who will likely be joining us next week. Well, as a matter of fact, I actually confirmed it this morning, but we will have another special guest.
I'm kind of glad I didn't miss the Wahoo talk.
I'm very glad.
It's going to be Boston.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to ask any crazy questions.
No, but that's your jam. Like, you know, this stuff.
Your jam.
You know the right questions to ask. You know the buttons to push.
Who knows?
So, but anyway, if you want to come back next week, that'd be fantastic. We would love that. Until then, thanks for listening. Bye for now.